Hello, and welcome to the Legendarium Green Team. I'm Jingles90, and with me today are TexasBlade,
Hey.
Cesky,
Heyo.
and Little Red Book.
Hello.
Today, we are discussing Book 5 of the Alex Verus series, Hidden by Benedict Jaka. Let's start with some non-spoiler feelings, and then we'll get into a spoiler discussion. I really like this one. That's going to be the answer, I think, for all of these. I do feel, however, there was a little bit of a plateau. Like, I finally hit okay, this is the quality that Jaka's going to run with. I understand that now. Happy with it.
Glad you think that. I'm glad you think that you've hit a plateau. That's a really good feeling to think about. But I think we'll see whether that plateau sticks or falls.
Okay.
So.
All right. What does everyone else feel about this book?
They get better.
Sure.
I just like seeing Alex come to grips with the fact that he's actually going to have to deal with like council culture in this book. And I like Caldera and what she's doing in this book. And Luna is just so great. I'm sorry. She's just amazing.
Luna is. I want to say one thing about Caldera here. I was listening to the audiobook. That is not Caldera's voice for me. That is like have you guys listened to it at all?
No.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the only way I do it.
Oh yeah,
I have done it.
Caldera's voice. Yeah, whenever I think of her, I just think she has this not a deeper voice, but a deeper voice. Like she's just the audiobook sounds really like frilly and like not just doesn't seem like it matches the personality that Caldera is, because Caldera is very no nonsense. I'm a police. I'm gruff. Not like it sounds like an Umbridge almost, like Dolores Umbridge from Harry Potter to me. But
I mean, Dolores is very no nonsense, right?
Well, in a different way. Dolores is like the frilly, pink, girly. That doesn't strike me as Caldera. That's all.
She's pretty no nonsense as far as I'm concerned. I like the voice acting for this book, but whatever. You're wrong. It's okay.
I'm right.
You're allowed to be.
Okay.
I like Caldera, but I definitely thought she was older. Like I had a lot of weird realizations about age, and I know we've talked about that in the past, but like just like how young everybody actually is. Because Caldera, I was kind of picturing like a 50-year-old, like been through the ringer, done with all the BS, and just a lot more stubborn old lady. She's like 30.
I know. I agree with you there. The age thing is very strange in this story.
I mean, we don't actually get Alex's age, right? He's never we get it pretty much set now, but he never actually explicitly states it.
Never explicitly. So in this one, he does say a couple things that kind of put him around 30 as well. He says that he's 8 years older than Anne, and he met Anne when she was 22 years ago. So yeah, so he's 30. But yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. It's like we're gonna do this. It's like, why can't you just say it? Why?
You have to remember that this book has a lot of British culture in it. A lot of British culture, and
is that a British thing where you don't tell people your own age?
I'm going to say it's a British thing. Everything starts British eventually, right? So if you go far enough back, I just don't. It doesn't matter necessarily what his age is. But I was going to say, I think this book is not that it's kind of a plateau, like Jingles was saying. In a non-spoiler way, I think this is really kind of trying to, like, we've set up some conflicts early on. We've resolved those. Now we're starting to move into like what's our long-term conflict. We're hearing a lot about Richard. We're hearing a lot about Moradin and the council. We're hearing a lot about these other things. And I think this is kind of starting to say, well, now that we've got these other far future plots kind of started, now we're going to start and deal with your interpersonal relationships and your characters. Like, not that we haven't been dealing with them the whole time, but this book, I feel like, really gets into, like the aftermath of the last book, where the last book was Alex makes the impossible choice to defend himself, right? People don't like that. And now it gets into the reactions afterwards. I mean, this book takes place a year afterwards, and it's saying like, look, everybody didn't just say, well, we don't agree with it, but we're still going to be friends with you, or we're still going to just hang out with you and do what you think and, be with you. It puts the relationships to the test, to start leading up, because this is book 5 out of 12. So we're really close to the halfway point where things are going to start kind of tipping and being more overt.
I think one of the things that kind of led me towards that plateau idea was just the lack of notable new characters as well. Like we're very much working within the confines of the people that we've already met, what they are doing, what their motives going forward are, and really only 3 new big players that I can think of, or maybe 4. Yeah.
Oh, you
Um,
said big players. Yeah, I don't know if.
oh, I'm not counting Richard in that.
Uh-huh.
We're good there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think like Sagash, um,
Segadash,
Alex's, yeah, Alex's dad, and then the Blink Fox. I'm counting because that will be important. It has to be. He's too cute.
Never seeing him again. Never seeing him again.
I love Hermes so much. And it's not a spoiler for me to say his name. It's not a big deal. Like you find out his name is Hermes later, and he is amazing and one of my favorite characters.
That's a great name for a fox that can travel through space. That's fantastic.
Mm.
But yeah, so it was kind of interesting seeing just everything kind of get a little bit more molded together than maybe the standalone missions of the previous books had
So
there.
remember when I said there was uh, a hint at something, Jingles, in
Yeah.
one of the previous books? In the dream world, there's a fox that trots through his dream world.
Oh, funny. Okay. That's what you think they're just hinting at the fact that a fox would exist later. Yeah.
Hmm.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah, I also that was something this might be another just something you get used to in London or something, but city foxes? Are, are foxes like the coyotes of London? Is that what we're
I
I
mean,
don't know.
we watch from where I work, we watch the coyotes play like around the airport.
Are
So
you?
totally,
No, I'm sorry.
no,
You
so it
say.
could totally be the
Yeah.
coyotes of
I just
London.
like I've never seen a fox in the city like but we don't really have many foxes out here in the
Yeah, but we have coyotes everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah. We have deer actually in Portland too. They live in the golf course.
Yeah, I mean, we see, I'm in the, I'm right on the edge of Seattle and we have bears and all kinds of stuff walking around. But, coyotes are by far, and raccoons, by far the more common thing.
And possums.
Armadillo's
All
here.
right, let's swing
Yeah,
back.
okay,
to
so none of
to
them
the
are
book here.
magical.
Anyway, so, all right, any other non-spoiler thoughts before we move on?
No.
Can't really. Yeah.
No? All right, summary time. So, did you kind of think that both of Alex's parents were dead? I did. But here he is stalking his dad. That is, until Luna interrupts him and asks Alex to go talk to Anne. It's been almost a year since the events of Chosen, and Alex has not made amends with Anne or Sonder. Anne has been expelled from magic school for hurting another student, and Luna thinks Alex could be a voice of reason. He's not, and the talk goes poorly. That night, Anne is kidnapped, and Sonder and Caldera are put on the case. With the aid of Varium and Luna, the 3 begin an investigation which cycles through various painful discussions about moral choice, whether it was Sagash or Crystal who kidnapped Anne, a fun dark mage ball, and a shadow realm littered with shadow constructs and a cute blink fox. In a final-ditch effort to save Anne because the council won't, Alex confronts Richard Druck, Sagash, and Crystal in more than one fight and an offer he's welcome to refuse. In the end, Anne is saved, Crystal gets away again, and Alex is left with a new companion and a start to at least one relationship healed. Oh, and we forgot the double agent of it all.
Oh.
That was an interesting conclusion, which kind of influences, jumping ahead a little bit, kind of influences what I think the next book is going to be about. Because I think now we have very much two parties trying to influence Alex to join them. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
Hmm.
But
It goes.
it
It
goes.
does.
It goes. That's all I can say.
I mean,
The
there's so much
question
I want to
goes.
say because
Yeah.
I just reread the next book, and so I'm trying to keep my mind.
Shame.
Yeah. Keep your future thoughts to yourself here for a
I'm
second.
trying to. So here's the first thing that bothers me about this book. Not that it's bad. I don't like pacifism as a philosophy. I don't. I think it's immoral. But I also don't think violence should be the first thing that you go to. And that conversation with his dad in this book, he's like, leave it to the authorities. Alex says, what is obvious? What do you think the authorities do? They
They
use
use
force.
power and violence. Yeah.
Yeah, and violence doesn't have to be killing necessarily. I mean, if a guy is attacking me and I kick him in the crotch, that's violence. I'm not a pacifist. You know what I mean? Like, I, I just, I really, I don't know if Benedict Jacka is trying to discuss. I just don't think that a lot of characters are really honest in this book about force. And then you have other characters that are a little too trigger happy, shall we say. Anyway,
I think
thoughts.
I think it's a valid thing to try and explore in the book. I mean, but Jack is not the only one who has a purely pacifistic character who comes at odds with a violent or just a person who's not pacifistic kind of a method. A prime example of that is Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive. One of the characters' dads is a strong pacifist. They get into arguments about it all the time. The only I like pacifism in general, but or like in theory, but like in practice it doesn't work because what people respect is power through violence, power through job position, power through friendship. I mean that it sounds weird when you say it like that, but like everything kind of relates to like your power or your relation to them. Like I am connected to you guys through Green Team, like I'm connected to other people through other things, but everything has like a dynamic to it. And too often, I think the pacifism is by people who are comfortable in their situation and are not threatened by things outside of their control, or but they're not willing to stick up for other people. Like pacifism is fine in and of itself, but like if me through doing violence, then just whatever can help other people be safer, is that not the more correct choice? You know what I mean? Like I might have to do violence, but I am preventing more violence by doing that first violence. Does that I mean, obviously these are very complex and nuanced topics, and like, but
If a
in
person's
general,
willing to attack you, they're probably willing to attack someone else. So the more people who don't stop them, the more people they're willing to hit. Effectively.
it becomes really sticky, especially when the authorities, the ones who are going to theoretically authorized to use that violence or that power, are unwilling, unable to do anything.
Yeah. Well, I think too there's a kind of meshing of happening of pacifism and inaction not being two separate things, and an understanding that like Alex's father's inaction is a lot of his excuse for why he actually has a bad relationship with his father, right? Like he blames inaction and pacifism for getting stuck with his mom and in the divorce, and him going to Richard and all of these things. So what he kind of is equating that to is just because his father chose to be a pacifist, he also lost a support structure, which is um, kind of an interesting thing when we're like looking at it at the same time as like how he views Arachne or how he views Richard. These are all people that he kind of uses as those support structures, and only one of them really gives him any sort of actual support.
Well, and if you wanted to look at it in a different way here, just besides pacifism in theory in general, Annie is a pacifist. She generally tries to refuse to hurt anybody in absolutely any circumstance, right? Now, talk about the night of her kidnapping in this book. If Annie had been more willing to show her power, that she would be willing to use it. I'm not saying she has to go around willy-nilly hurting people, but like, a very
She could have knocked them out and run away.
she could have knocked them both out. She could have killed them both. She chose not to, right? I mean, she chose to flee and hide, which is a smart decision. But like a little bit of violence in this situation, or a little bit of power or authority shown, could have really deterred or stopped a lot of these things from happening. Whereas Alex, maybe he's on the other side of the scale, a little bit too happy to go straight to, let me punch my way through this problem because I can do that,
But he kind of know. I mean, his problems are often with the dark mages, and he knows exactly how they operate. So, and we saw how he reacts to non-dark mages. How many chances? How many strikes do you give someone trying to kill you? He gave them what, 4?
Yeah, it's it's a thing, right? Like you have to make those decisions.
Yeah.
I was
I
going to
do.
say, it's also a little funny just that the loops that the Light Council has to put to go through this, where it's like, oh, yes, of course, it's Crystal who stole, it's Crystal who stole Annie. And later it turns out kind of was actually. But in the beginning, they have to just say, oh, it's Crystal, because otherwise the Light Council doesn't care. That's the
Right.
only reason they care, is that it's because it's Crystal perpetuating it. Not, we want to help this girl. We want to save this mage. We want to stop these atrocities from happening. We want to go after somebody and punish somebody. So if I use that name, I get more resources instead of what's the, I mean, it all kind of turned out and didn't at the same time at the end of this book. But like you see the manipulation that's already starting to happen with Sonder, where he's like, I have to twist this because I have to say it's this person to get what I want.
Yeah. How did you all feel about that when you first read it? I find it unsettling that Saunders was right for all the wrong reasons. Like, I'm not. Uh, it's weird, like just listening to the guy and being incredibly frustrated at how he's, trying to manipulate the system to get what he wants, but then also is getting super mad at Alex for pretty much everything. And kind of on the same note, just the idea of the pacifism or the anger at violence that Saunders perceives about Alex. He and Anne do not have that different an argument, but it's so much easier to hear it from Anne because she actually has lived experience. And I do not feel the same about Sonder at all.
Well, and it's just
It's-
you should have done something else. That's just like, oh my gosh. It's like, if you don't know what else you could have done, do you want him dead?
Yeah, that's the only truly way to criticize somebody in this situation is to have lived through something very similar, or to have an actual like, why didn't you just do this? Like an actual reason. Well, you should have done something. I talked to the light
and that's
mages.
not.
I talked to the dark mages. I talked to you. Like nobody said, let me help you. Let me stop this. As far as Sonder being right for all the wrong reasons, I'm pretty sure the first time I really liked that Sonder was doing it because it's about Anne. He was doing it for the right reasons. He was manipulating it to try and care about somebody. Now we know why he cares about her, because he has a crush on her, and that, yes, bad, good, whatever. But like,
I thought
then
it was
being
Luna he had a crush on,
no, it's
It was,
Luna. Sorry, it was Luna, but he was friends with
and her friend. Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, that was my mistake there. But then him kind of being right, I almost validates it a little bit, because it's like, well, you just threw it out there and you happen to be right. But at the same time, enough of it makes sense that I'm not like crazy.
Is it really? I mean, does it really make sense? I really don't think that he actually thought Crystal was involved.
It makes no.
That was
It
my
doesn't
feel.
make sense that he thought that. It makes sense that Crystal would go to one of the most paranoid mages and
I mean,
try
that
and
does make
manipulate
sense.
that. That's what I mean makes sense, is that Crystal's actions to get where she got make sense, and then Sagash doing his own thing. Saunders suspecting it was totally not a real like thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. So I have a question, because they talk about, did what's his face, Sagash, actually, because it seems like they had a deal. Crystal and her and him had a deal, but he didn't know she was in the castle or something. I was very confused about that
I
part. So
think
I'm
he
gonna
did
say-
know. Yeah.
He knew she was in the castle. He did not know that she had a secret lab set up that he was not aware
Okay,
of.
okay.
Yeah.
And of course, Anne was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't know about Anne and the use of his apprentices.
Which
Yeah.
I kind of think Sagash was, this is weird to say about an evil dark mage, was being naive, because Crystal's a mind mage. Like, why
I
wouldn't
think
she
he's distracted,
screw?
maybe.
Yeah, but still, why?
He doesn't have
Why
very good
wouldn't
social skills, so he probably is not,
Yeah.
Yeah, probably being a death mage doesn't induce good social skills.
and a hermit.
And
with
also
a-
just horrifying looking. Like his description is wild. It's like if you saw that person out in the world, you would think that's a fake like that's a statue. There's no way.
He's the
Like,
crypt keeper.
yeah, exactly. He is. It's weird.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what else did I want to talk about? So
There's a mention, just going back a little bit, of an American council, and I really want to know about that.
Yeah.
How different it
I'm-
is and whatnot.
have
There's the
something
French
funny to
council
say.
too.
I don't know anything about the councils, but this goes back to inventory, and I don't remember where I read this, but it was on his website, I think, and it was in the same vein where Alex was talking to somebody in his shop, giving like a well, here's this item and here's this item, kind of like he does with Luna at the beginning, where he's going over inventory.
That's right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking to this guy, and he's like, "Well, here's this." Like the guy's like, "What's this sword do?" And Alex is like, "Well, with that sword, you have the strength of 10 men. You're basically invincible. You just go on a murdering rampage. When you use it." And the guy's like, "Wow, that's so cool. Like, why is it up here?" And Alex is like, "I don't want to go on a murdering rampage and like kill a bunch of people." He's like, "Well, why don't you ever use this sword?" And he's like, "Just told you. Like, I don't want to go murder random people." And then he pulls up like the next item, and it's a very similar, like, this is a great evil weapon. This is a big weapon that can be used, but comes at this cost. And the guy's like, "Well, why don't you use this?" And it's like, "Well, again, like, causes me to murder people." It was a really funny thing. I'll try and find it so I can link it to you, but it's just something on his website. I think it was really funny.
I need to check that out. I think I said that every
Again,
episode, but
showing that Alex is he's not necessarily murderous, but a lot of people kind of end up dead when they attack him.
Yeah.
when they attack
Sonder
him, that's the
actually really
key.
pisses me off. This is where I really like Sonder in the first couple books where he appears. This is where he starts to lose me. This
Hmm.
whole book.
Okay.
I'm just like, he's
Yeah.
like, it just makes me furious. And the thing is that every step of the way, the council could have taken good, appropriate action and prevented the deaths.
Mhm.
But that again assumes that the council actually cares about anyone besides. Now,
Yeah.
And they don't.
And the most powerful ones in the council at that,
yeah,
which is one of the big things, is one of the more powerful members doesn't like Alex. So
Yeah. And Sonder is just so okay with the idea of ignoring and denying anything about the faults of the. That's what frustrates me most, is
Well-
that he's clearly aware of the problems with the council, and yet when it comes down to it, he will always just back them. It's really
Well,
frustrating and
they've
weird.
done well by
they
him.
backed him, and he's a light mage, and light mages support each other. And Saunders not willing to even admit his own mistakes. He was proved right, which only reinforces his ability to say, "Look, I manipulated this situation, and it was good." Right? I said
Yep.
it was Crystal, even with no proof, and it ended up being Crystal. So in a way, it just reinforces that for Sonder, which is a bad thing. But I had a question for you, Jingle, since this is the first time. Now, Annie, tell me all your feelings about Annie right now. And I know there's a lot of them, but like, tell me how you're feeling about like what she went through and kind of her and Dark Annie, obviously. Like, what's your feelings here? I wanna see what you think is gonna happen in the future. What you think you seeing? I mean, I'm gonna tell
we
you, you've
can't make
seen
him do
Dark Annie a little
predictions
bit in
yet.
the past, even, right? Like,
No
there were
predictions
hints of
yet.
that.
No
What?
predictions yet. Okay.
No,
without
well,
any
you know what I mean. No predictions, but like,
without any predictions, I will just go into starting at the beginning of this book. I was as frustrated with Anne as I was with Sonder, right? I understood that she had a dark past. She's not willing to open up about it. Okay, so that's something to work with. But her immediacy to condemn Alex once he had actually expressed what he had done really bothered me. And as we made it through this book, especially once they get into the Shadow Realm and start talking about exactly what she was made to do and all of these things, I really started to understand her perspective more. And I definitely, like I said, I can agree with her more than I can with Sandra because I understand the experience, right?
Yeah, no, I just
Mhm.
want to say one thing. Annie is a little bit of a hypocrite here.
She
Because
is.
Annie will definitely go to die for someone or let herself be killed, but actually, she just lets Dark Annie deal with it.
Yep.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yeah.
she is not, she says she's willing to die for it, and technically, she kind of is, except she's not because she does give over that control in moments when she needs to.
Well, and
Yeah.
I find the conversation
You
that
know,
with Alex when she's being forced to duel, and Alex says, "Look, if you don't stop Crystal, all these other people are also going to be hurt." And and I appreciate what she decides to do, where she doesn't actually kill Crystal, and then there's this weird thing that happens with them all teaming up to get out. But whatever. The point is, the girl with the dragon tattoo. I know this is completely off topic.
I'm
She
interested. I'm
tattoos
interested.
Yeah.
she tattoos rapist on her rapist's chest because she's like and she turns them in. And the thing is that it's nice to say, okay, well, whatever this, but if you don't stop people doing bad things, they're just going to do bad things to other people.
Right. Yeah. So I think this
And
is
if you
a
can stop them and you're not because I want to be better, it's like, I mean, it's your choice, but if you can stop someone, why not?
so I think the answer does lie in like her survivalism and her trauma. Like it's a definitely a um I I understand the line that you're drawing, right? But I don't necessarily see now a reason um to I guess blame Anne for not wanting to be inactive, right? Like I very much see why this is a struggle for her and why she wants to continue to try to find alternatives because the
Yeah.
healing has to start, right? She can't
Mm.
just
Right.
jump right into being both
Mhm.
Annies. She has to be one or the other right now.
Okay, so
Um,
do you think she's trying?
so that's yet to be determined, right? We really did not get left much time with her after the
I
fact.
agree, but
Yeah,
from what you know of Annie, would you say she's trying?
I
Do you
would
think
hope
she's
so.
not trying?
There's a
I think,
I don't think
conversation
she's
about that
trying.
at the very end.
yeah, I
Alex
definitely.
asks if she's talking, and she's non-committal about like wanting to talk to her, her other
Yeah,
half.
Well, here's another interesting thing that comes into this whole thing is that Dark Anne is like, she feels like she has to heal everybody and she's using herself up, trying to fix everybody. And you have that whole scene where the dude is like, I know you have drugs in your apartment. Give them to me, at the very beginning of the book. So, how do we feel about that? Like,
I feel like she's
you,
trying to atone by healing people, which is a great thing. I feel like she's by separating herself like she did, especially unhealthy, she's kind of sealed away her more selfish desires away because her selfish desire is to live, even though she has to do bad things to do it, right?
yeah.
So
I
by
feel
saying
like,
I can get rid of my
It's
selfishness, I can be better. And like what she says,
I think there's a book
I'm
about that.
trying to heal people because if I do good things, I'm a good person. When it's not necessarily that cut and dry, unfortunately.
no,
well,
and she's also still completely deflecting by sealing off that half. So it's the healing is not doing any sort of redemption.
yeah, well, I feel like in part that her separating herself apart like she does, it makes her incapable of setting appropriate boundaries with people. And
Mhm.
this all has a very Jungian flavor to it
Absolutely.
about you need to integrate your darkness, integrate your shadow.
It's all good. I just was curious what your feelings on Anne were because obviously she just continues to be a main character. Did you think she was going to be cut off kind of at the end of this book with how the beginning started, or?
Oh no. I actually the further this book went along, the more I kind of thought this is the actual relationship for Alex here. Because I think
Are
we're
you
we're
saying they're gonna be a pair?
oh yeah, I'm
Is that
shipping
what
them.
you're saying?
Yeah, it's happening.
Hit me with your other ships here. Come on. Jingles, you got any more? Here,
So that's the only one I got.
let's-
Actually, in a weird
no,
do
say it,
I?
say it, say it.
No, I don't think. The
No,
more I think about it, Luna and Varium, that's too easy.
that's too easy.
It's too easy. It's not happening.
All right.
I want that to happen.
Yeah.
I want it to happen.
Is it really easy when she has a curse that kills people that she touches?
Oh, you'll get to that problem. You'll get to that, cross that bridge when you get there. But as far as like personalities go and stuff, they're just, I don't know. It's too easy. I like this opposition bit that
They would be
is
an
going
adorable
to.
couple.
They absolutely would be. I also, the personal preference. I just need some of this feeling of familial to just kind of stick around and work, right? Like I don't need
What? You
everyone
like
in a
it when books have
strong
happy
relationship.
feelings
Yeah.
in them? Who are you?
But yeah. Let's see here. Should we talk about that's what Red, I was gonna start us with the funny stuff, and then you jumped just right into the serious.
No, I was just thinking about that. Um, so I want to talk. I I feel like this book lacked funny stuff for me, at least.
I giggled a couple times.
Mm,
This is the
like,
stuff I'm talking about. Varian and
inventory.
Luna making fun of the whiteboard by saying it's never lupus. Excellent house joke.
That was such a funny joke.
Fair enough. I just when I was maybe it was the mood I was in when I did and I sped read this like in a day and like 6 hours. I was just really focused on the deep stuff, but it does have funny stuff in it, but that's not what I was thinking about the whole time.
The blue
I
mind
was
wiping
I
book.
was so pissed at the council when I read this book. I was so angry, and I was so angry
Wait,
at
You
Alex's
also read
dad.
every book right close to each other, so you get that council hate just compounded and compounded and
I know.
compounded.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't think
Everything.
it's fair. I don't think it's unfair to say that this book has less funny spots than the other books did. Like, not in a bad way, and it still has some funny spots, funny things. But like the last book has him making fun of the chosen guy who was trying to kill him the whole time and being like, "Oh, did you trip and like hurt your sword?" Or like, making all those funny jokes the whole time, right? This time didn't really have that because it's he couldn't mouth off to the bad guys to annoy them, right? It's a hide and seek.
He
It's
tried.
you
He
do this.
tried.
Yeah, he tries, and to varying degrees, you can say success or fail, but he doesn't have a lot of like big direct confrontation. That is what he excels in, the funny tone.
The next book has more funny spots
Yeah.
than this
Oh,
book.
another funny thing though was Varium being like, Annie is creepy. Everybody thinks she's creepy. Light mages think she's creepy. Light apprentices think she's creepy. Regular people think she's creepy. Except for you. You don't think she's creepy. And he's like, what do you mean she's creepy? She's like not creepy at all. And he's like, the way she doesn't breathe. And he's like, she's a life mage. Life mages don't need to breathe. It makes sense. The fact that she looks like she's looking through you, she probably is. She's a life mage. He's just like, all these things make sense to me. Like, I don't know why people have such a problem with it.
That was actually the scene where I was like, okay, he loves her.
No, he is. Yeah, Anna's creepy.
Yeah.
I would definitely be creeped out by meeting her.
That's what
She's also like super over nice,
Mhm.
which also makes her creepy. And when you meet Dark Anne, you're like, oh, if Dark Anne and normal Anne were one Anne, it wouldn't be as creepy.
Yeah,
It would just be
absolutely.
normal.
Well, it's like every other life mage that we've met has been like an inch away from being an actual serial killer. Like,
Well,
I
there is that
think-
too.
We've only met one other life mage, right? We've met a bunch of death mages.
or death mage. Are those different? Is that an?
Yes.
Is that
Those
an
are
auto-
honest
They're
differences.
Oh,
kind of
okay.
different. They're
Well, life mages can heal, and technically Annie kills you by ripping your life out. Death mages kill you by introducing death.
death.
Right.
Alright.
So they're not so much like
Anti-life,
heal you.
effectively.
but
Yeah.
death mages have many of the same abilities that life mages have. They can sense life. They can know what's wrong.
I think
with
they
you.
sense a void in the non-life, if I remember correctly. Technically,
It's
Okay, interesting. Wait, but aren't
whatever.
their auras like the colors the same? Like, isn't it bright green for both of them?
black for
No,
death
death
mages.
Black /
black, yeah.
green.
Okay, but yeah,
So how cool is how Alex gets them out? He just goes to Sagash or whatever his name is, and he's just like, "Hey, by the way, do you know what's going on in your castle?" And that's how he.
yeah,
There is a fight ish, but
there
yeah.
is. But I definitely enjoyed the just the audacity of it. Like, okay, I've already broken in. There's nothing really else I can do other than just tell the guy. Here we go. Just be tactical about it, right? Don't just tell him the information.
His two apprentices, as they like realize what's happened, and he's like, they just had that oh no face.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
I also loved Ji Young. I hope we see more of her, just because
Yeah.
when she catches up with him in the fight and is just like telling him how the benefits kind of suck, but she does get to talk to her parents on Skype every week. So you're a
she's
death mage. What are you?
she's
Speaking of
life.
something that was
She's the
really
other life
funny
mage.
is when they were running away, when Crystal and Anne and Alex were escaping, and she's coming up the stairs and she's like, "Oh no, I am not doing this
I'm doing
again."
this again.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
Crystal's
great.
like, I see you're making friends, just like you normally do."
Yep.
I mean, in fairness, he did throw her off the wall and she dropped like 80 feet, so I could understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what is that? That didn't even bother her. She's just mad because she lost.
Yeah. It was just a rough day.
I believe
Fine.
he took a sword as a
He did.
trophy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say back to slightly serious, but not really. Like Caldera, I think this is one of the books where he starts to fall off. Not as a character in the story, but as a character that I like because you start seeing how her unwillingness to bend is starting to cause issues, but not necessarily just causing issues for our protagonists, but just how those following the same rules can be causing other issues to other people at other times, and her unwillingness to bend and say like, no, it's wrong to do this or it's right to do this, but without that authority, without the council telling me, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
It's the next
Yeah,
book where
absolutely.
she starts falling off for me, though. Not this one.
Spoilers.
Oh,
Which one did you say she starts falling away for you? Next
The
one?
next one.
next
Yeah.
one.
No,
it's like
that's not spoilers. No, it's just
no, no. I'm just saying like all her books are kind of just get her more. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It's the start of her falling off for me.
Well, I definitely think I'm kind of on this. I was already losing interest in her about midway through this book when it became really clear that she was only going to follow orders. Not a huge fan of that.
Yeah, I think she has a lot of promise in the beginning where she seems like a really straight mage that does things because she wants to make things better. She still has those, and like she has the good ideals basically.
Right.
But then in this book, you're seeing, well, you have those good ideas only when it follows the letter of the law, and that's where it
Which
starts.
is a
it's really
problem.
screwed
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Like we can't protect kidnapped children basically because it would impact the Concord when these
No,
see
no,
what the
no, Red. You're getting it all wrong. You can't protect kidnapped children. You can't rescue kidnapped children because that would offend the kidnappers. And you know you can't offend the
I'm
kidnappers.
wrong.
They're a
I
vital
stand
part of our
corrected.
economy. They are a vital part. Who else is going to do all the kidnapping? Not the light mages aren't going to do it. Like you need to get a hold of yourself
Actually,
here and think
I was
about
gonna
the
say, well,
economy.
actually, Texas is right. They do. They also kidnap. I'm sorry. Just reading these books so close together, as Chesky says, you get compounded like council hatred.
Yeah. I feel
almost like that's intended.
that. Yeah.
One more small thing. Again, he's very explanatory towards the beginning. Do you feel like that
He is.
is starting to hurt it?
Maybe reading them so close together a little bit, yes. But it's one of those things I'm always forgiving of when I understand that these books were originally published like a year apart, and not everyone is like us, where we'll read a whole series multiple times over just to get to the next book. But
Weirdos is what you're calling us. We're
yeah,
weirdos.
no, I think this is absolutely normal. There's nothing weird about any of that behavior. But it is a little much. I did actually notice in this book he does re-explain the Anne situation from Chosen twice. And I was like, okay, this is a little much.
Yeah, I
again,
think there's a few times where he repeats himself. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I just mean because introduces himself, introduces path walking, introduces his shop. It's not bad. Just it's kind of the start to every book.
yeah. Which I kind of feel like with the way that the books are going, if it's like this all 12 books, that's a little much because we are very much entering what I think feels like a much broader story. Like we left a lot more open-ended in this book than we did in the previous one. And things are building on each other in a much more obvious way. So it's like, yeah, I know who
I
Alex Verus is. I know what he does for a living. I know
I, I really did miss that we had no Alex customer interaction in this book.
Yeah, but the inventorying scene was great. I think
It was
Texas
fine,
and the
but
Blue Book.
one of my favorite things
It's
is him interacting with like normal people coming into his shop.
Summon's a cat, and then does that cat do spy things for you, or like go get things? No, it does what a normal cat would do and check if you have food and then leave.
It also helps you summon bleak foxes, apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But that dude, I don't remember which book it was, who came in with the fish.
Last book, I
Was the-
think.
that was that was
yeah, I
last
think it
book.
was. He's like,
yeah.
and then he's like, I got a curse, and these fish keep showing up in my office. Anyway, I'm just saying I miss the normal people. There's no normal people Alex interaction in this book, really.
Yeah,
I
it,
mean,
it does
good
very
acting.
much go just into the wizard.
I guess it's his dad, technically.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
But yeah,
I
that's not a
know.
fun interaction, really.
Yeah,
No,
Say that
it's
nobody Alex
depressing.
interacts with is normal.
I
I
know
guess
we
dad's a
already.
weirdo. I mean, he's a professor pacifist who, whatever. I I was literally furious during that scene. I was so
Yeah.
angry.
I know we kind of already touched on it, but I just don't really get why we needed him. Like, I think his dad was probably like the weirdest insert for me in this entire book. Just because like Arachne's already there, she exists. That's a
Actually,
great
she was
person to
busy.
talk to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I the only thing I can think is just to throw us off in what we think we know about Alex. You
Yeah.
know, everybody kind of thinks he's on his own, no contact. No, he just doesn't. Him and his dad just don't agree. You know, just to throw one more thing at Alex.
Yeah,
You
he's
know,
not this guy that was
perhaps
trying to
Alex
survive.
yeah, perhaps Alex was thinking, you know, who's the most like Annie that I know? And that would be his dad in
Right.
pacifism to give actual voice to the things that Annie won't. Yeah,
I
you could
mean,
go
I
either
guess.
way, really. But like, I think it's really just he just put it. I don't know.
And to think you could cut it out and it would be a shorter book.
It's already a pretty short
It's all
book.
pretty
I mean,
short.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying, I hadn't thought about it quite like that, but now that you've said it, I'm like, that scene was unnecessary.
It gave us something for Alex to do at the beginning too, I guess. Like,
well, you know, like I said, it's that introductory. It
yeah.
explains path walking again. It explains who Alex is. It explains I didn't know who it was. Oh, now I know who it is. Cut. It was Luna. Oh, okay. You know, it's a little bit of that chapter teasing without being an actual
yeah,
chapter,
I agree.
right? Like,
Which I kind of love. Luna is the one giving us the problem. Like, she hasn't spoken to him in forever. It's like they've been talking every single day. She could have told him this at the shop, right? Like, she doesn't need to be stalking him, stalking his dad.
Luna's her argument for why Alex has to come with her to Annie's. Well, if you let me go, then you're going to be in trouble for not protecting your apprentice. When you went, you knew I was going somewhere dangerous, and you wouldn't let me go, but it wasn't dangerous. So that, you know, just her whole convoluted thing, and he's just like, "I hate you. Come on."
Yeah. This is exactly what I would say. Dang it. Alright.
Luna is the best.
Luna's great. She takes quite the seat back in this one, which I was kind of disappointed by. But it was the Alex and Annie show.
Yeah.
It really was.
All right. We have a giant elephant in the room that we have not touched on, and we are approaching an hour. So it is time to talk Morden and Richard and what the heck they're doing. Richard, not as horrifying as I thought he was going to be. And I think even Alex kind of acknowledges that. Not as horrifying as he remembered. That said, I love the entire way that conversation went. The guy's confidence is what's horrifying about him, and I really like that that's the character trait.
I like the part where he says to Alex, like, why would I hold a grudge against you? You're
Yeah.
not even worth it. But as to what they're doing, they're trying to, I think, gain some sort of legitimacy in the bureaucracy that is the Light Council.
So that's definitely what Morden's trying to do. I still have no idea what the heck Richard is at.
I mean, he's kind of only been around for a scene.
A scene, but he's not really
Or
doing
two.
anything, right? Like, even in this book, we're still on the is Richard even back yet train after we got a pretty definitive yes
Yeah.
for At least for the reader.
Well, the
They
reader
handed
did,
the last
yeah.
book. Yeah.
I am trying to just kind of picture that scene, and while he does come off as like less creepy compared to Alex's like hyped up version, because Alex has
Yeah.
had this time to like hype up Richard and his evilness, and his absence and his fear. I still think it shows that Richard he obviously is very good at placing himself where he needs to be, and to be in this position where even Moradin, a man whose strength we know, Moradin is still very like, hey, Richard, what do you want? Like, how are you feeling about
Yeah.
this move? What do you want to do? And he's listening and valuing what Richard says. What we know Moradin is he does not value very many people's opinion, right?
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
interesting since he's trying to gather so many people on his side.
Right. So you have to think they both probably are wanting the same kind of thing, but they can also be at like cross purposes a little bit here, right? Like Dark Mage uses whoever they have to get what they want.
And
right?
light mages don't do that. They
No,
never do
light
that.
mages would never do something like that. They would never pick somebody up, use them, and throw them away. That is dark mage propaganda BS, and I won't have it. For our dutiful light mages, clearly maligned here by Little Red Book, they would never sick, ancient constructs on somebody who definitely didn't deserve it. Never threaten an air elemental for sure. Definitely not try to harvest one of the few magical creatures left that we have to protect. And definitely, they are definitely against vigilantism, especially against all those poor adepts and apprentices in training. I mean, those light mages are sure stand-up guys. Don't you forget it.
I just have so many things I want to say about them that I can't say because they're all spoilers as far as Richard and Morden.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Um,
so predictions, I think, is in order.
predictions. So we are at the point where Taliesin wants Alex to be a double agent for the Light Council. Richard wants Alex to be an investigator for him, whatever the heck that means. Alex is refusing, but the next book is called Veiled. So, under the veil of deception, Alex is going to give in to being a double agent for the Light Council and go be Richard's investigator. I think it's happening.
You think
Or
it's
maybe not Richard, maybe Morden. Maybe that's an easier pill to swallow.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, confused, excited about what happens.
Okay. Cool.
I love the next
I will
book
say
so much.
absolutely nothing about that, just that you'll like it.
Like I said, I love it. It has some horrifying things and it has some wonderful things. And we have a Blink Fox now. So
We do have a Blink Fox. Can Blink Fox
yay,
take
Army.
Can Blink Fox take people with him? By the way we acted earlier, I'd say no, but
I don't think so.
yeah. All right.
I mean, I guess it took the bird it captured, so maybe of equal mass.
Yeah. Check out. Although that also was actually something that I didn't weigh too heavily when I first read it, but Blink Fox, not just a magical creature, a genetically but yeah, like an actual like engineered creature, not just a magical creature. That was interesting.
Genetic alterations.
Yes, to create magical foxes.
I mean, that's a danger.
Yeah.
Genetic alterations. Oh, I don't know what you want to bring about that.
Magic CRISPR. There we go.
Magic CRISPR. I love it. Okay.
All right. Well, unless anyone has any final thoughts, I think we'll wrap it up there. This has been the Green Team of the Legendarium's discussion of Hidden by Benedict Jocka. Please join us on the Legendarium Discord server to continue the discussion. Thanks go to Craig and the Legendarium and Horizon Brave for starting the Green Team. Intro and outro music is Galactic Damages by Jingle Punks. And for TexasBlade, Cesky, and Little Red Book, I'm Jingles. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Good night.
Have a good one.
Bye.